So the exciting announcement that I have to make is that tomorrow I'm giving a talk and I won't need to wear a hat because for the first time in 3 months, I'm getting a haircut today. Isn't that exciting?
That is.
I don't hear
now get on with it.
Round of applause. All right, so this is a cat that I had that played the piano, and that is whom, the cat's name was Ricky. He passed away of feline hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. But this cat was a very famous cat at the time because people said back around the year 2000-ish, cats can't do these things. They can't go out into the world, and they don't, when people come over, they don't want to jump in people's laps. Well, cat owners have known for a very long time that isn't necessarily the case, of course. Cats have a wide range of personalities, as do dogs. And cats, we have a nation filled with brain-dead fat cats. And I'll explain why I say that throughout this presentation, which is about enrichment. What is that? I bet most of you know now. When I first began talking about enrichment, generally people didn't know, so I'm going to go through it quickly. In the 1985 Amendment to the Animal Welfare Act for improved standards for laboratory animals, the U.S. Congress included a mention of psychological well-being for non-human primates, and it's manipulating the environment to suit animals' normal, natural behaviors or encouraging the animal's behavior to match the environment. Behavioral enrichment is a management tool through which animal caretakers, wildlife rehabilitators, and others can use their animals with mental and physical stimulation using both natural and artificial objects. Behavioral enrichment also addresses space limitations that sanctuaries like zoos or even your or your clients' homes, obviously, there are space limitations. So even whether, it doesn't matter whether the client lives in New York City in a studio or somewhere in Idaho in a castle. I don't know that castles are in Idaho, but there are still space limitations. Zoos for a very long time have done a great job at all of this, way ahead, even to this day, I would argue, of most pet parents. So this is at the Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago. Food is scattered throughout the environment. Enrichment is also about choice. So these warthogs on certain days can eat more carrots than they prefer lettuce. Maybe another warthog says, no, I want some of the fruit that's left for me. They need the right nutrition, but within the boundaries of what they need, they do have choices. And here's an example of that also from the Lincoln Park Zoo. An artificial log, you've all seen probably, the Jane Goodall specials on National Geographic from years ago when she learned that chimpanzees use tools, use sticks in the environment to poke into a termite mound. And then the termites, first they lick the stick, termites stick to that stick because it's sticky, and then they lick off, the chimps do, the termites. Well, these DeBrazza's monkeys at the Lincoln Park Zoo do something kind of similar. So there are little holes in these artificial logs. You can barely see it, but there is a hole there. And there are holes all through these artificial logs. There's like 4 or 5 holes throughout the environment. Some days they put nothing in these holes, they being the keepers. But some days they put a condiment in the holes. It could be ketchup or mustard or barbecue sauce. And there's straw, there's sticks all throughout the environment. For whatever reason, this slide kind of shrunk a bit, so you don't see that. But trust me, there's sticks in the environment. They will pick one up. They've learned to do this on their own. Some of them will poke their fingers in the hole, and some of them like barbecue sauce and prefer it over ketchup or mustard. Some of them prefer ketchup or mustard. And the idea that they never know what's going to happen, whether there will be a condiment or what those combination of condiments will be, is part of what enrichment is all about, as well as choice. This zoo, which is in the Bahamas, thinks that a little tiny zoo in the middle of nowhere. Who gets off a cruise and says, take me to the zoo? I did. And at this lovely little zoo in the Bahamas, they have signs all over explaining what enrichment is and why it's important in their facility. Back at the Lincoln Park Zoo, we're in Chicago now, a chimpanzee named Catio is talking to another chimpanzee using a format that's similar to FaceTime. What they're saying to one another, I don't know. So what I contend is with our cats, they're not meant to do this. And the result is, yes, they've gained it in the middle and they've lost it upstairs because great-great-grandpa was right. And we know that by science. If you don't use it, you lose it. And our cats can do better than they're doing now. And one could argue that we actually have a lot of cats in America. I mean, millions and millions of cats in America that are clinically depressed. They live for, and I said that, I'll say it again, clinically depressed, because they really live for, doesn't mean they're not loved. They are. They're not being abused, but they are being abused. They live for nothing else other than to sit on their person's lap. That's nice. To use the litter box if the person is lucky, and most of all, to eat. But cats can do better. So cats, more of them are indoors than ever before, which I think is a good thing, because outside there are issues. And here are some of those issues. Well, maybe I'll read through it. Cars, cats do get hit by cars, of course. Some people think they don't. Of course they do. Stray dogs, antifreeze, wildlife, coyotes chase and do things to cats that you all know what that is. Cold weather can be a problem in of itself, or they can go under car hoods to try to warm up. Person doesn't know that, they go to start their car. Parasites are a problem, they're not protected necessarily. Human cruelty in some places in America, they're even shot at. The overpopulation issue. And then there are other issues. I mean, there's the ethical issue about them killing animals, which they have to eat, and some of them do that. And in addition to that, it's kind of a rude neighbor when your cat, if it's your cat, is using your next door neighbor's garden as a litter box. We all know that there are lots of overweight cats and dogs in America. It's a big problem, so to speak. And it matters. It matters to their actual health. And in the past 5 years, we've seen a 90% increase of overweight and obese cats. And a lot of people don't even know or realize that their cat is overweight or obese, because actually, here's what happens, or what has happened. Our perceptions have changed over the years. So if you ask great-great-great-grandma to look at your cat, she'd say, my, that cat is really fat, just like that. However, you look at your cat, or your sister looks at your cat and says, your cat looks perfectly normal, you know? So our perceptions have actually changed with all that. Cats, I'm glad they're indoors, but doing nothing is not normal for a cat. Oh, yeah. Cats are really good at catnapping. There's no doubt about that. They like to sleep and rest, and they'll spend time grooming themselves. And that's, of course, a perfectly natural cat thing to do, which incidentally, these overweight and obese cats can't do very well because they can't even reach around to groom themselves because they are so fat. And that is a problem. And some would argue can cause psychological issues in cats. That's actually true. If you're not allowed to be yourself because you can't do it, that is very frustrating, and that's an understatement. So cats on their own spend about, 19% of their time doing these things: hunting, traveling, and feeding. And in most of our homes who have cats, it's about 1% or less that they spend doing that. So are indoor cats missing out? Well, they don't need to. So we've all seen images like this, people who, as Jackson Galaxy has been saying, catify their home. And this is a great thing. This is wonderful. And this is easy to do. Now, not all your clients or all of you have to go this crazy. And certainly the cats don't even see these crazy colors. But nevertheless, it is a good thing to provide opportunities for cats to explore indoors. So why enrich these environments? Well, here are the reasons, or at least some of them. Alleviates boredom. It is brain exercise, which is incredibly valuable. It's some physical exercise and some burning of calories, which cats need. Can prevent behavior problems, interrupt the progression leading to compulsive behaviors, assist in dealing with behavior problems if they do occur, can be an outlet for anxiety. With cats in particular, dogs a bit, but cats in particular, we know that a sedentary lifestyle, an unenriched lifestyle, can lead to medical problems, particularly idiopathic feline lower urinary tract disease, which turns out not to be so idiopathic. Idiopathic means unexplained, and it turns out not to be so because we know enrich that environment and that problem dissipates or usually even goes away. More resources means less competition in multi-pet homes. Learning throughout life, we know, I have a talk on enrichment for seniors where I talk about this a lot, but we know that enrichment and learning throughout life can prevent or at least delay the onset of cognitive dysfunction, which is like Alzheimer's in cats, encourages natural behaviors, which is what we want, and can be fun, just simply fun for the cat and fun for the family to do. Now, the medical part, I'm not going to talk about in detail in this talk simply due to time, but here is a link where you can get more information. So it's now being called Pandora's syndrome rather than idiopathic feline lower urinary tract disease or idiopathic feline interstitial cystitis. It doesn't matter what you call it. Enrich the environment, and it typically does go away. Besides, cats will do what they want to do if you don't give them something to do. And what they choose to do may not be in your benefit. I hope you can see the video.
We can.
This video, by the way, goes on for 30 minutes. Clearly, I'm not going to play the whole thing. The point is, I'm glad I don't have to pay that water bill. So cats do find things to do. And one of the reasons why they do the things they do is not because they're upset at us or angry at us or trying to get back at us or anything. Sometimes they just don't have better things to do. It could be like watching Oprah. If you're a cat, if you have the opportunity to do what's at the far left, my left, I think it's your left too, and that is look outside at a bird. These cats are doing that. These people have this, and there are bird feeders like this that actually come into the window, so they get to see the stage show, if you will. At the bottom right, that's a cat named Elizabeth at Cornell, and similar type of contraction where squirrels or little chipmunks come in. They're fed, good for the chipmunks, good for the squirrels. They don't see the cat, so they're not terrified, and it's a show for the cat. The above right is disconcerting to me. Well, the cats may be having a good time watching these gerbils. Here, the gerbils can see the cats, and I'm not sure that I can argue that the gerbils are having a good time. So you have to think about the environment as a whole. So every cat, this should be a law, let's try to pass it through Congress, should have elevated places to go, scratching post, at least one window ledge where the cat can be encouraged to go up on, and cozy hiding places. That's kind of a basic 101. We know that cats that go up high can do so for two reasons. Sometimes because they want to oversee what's going on. They're the watch cats. They're in charge. They have control. And by the way, cats are control freaks and feel more confident if they're in control. More passive cats want it as a safe place to go where they can feel more secure. So when I began giving these types of talks, I began talking about enrichment, would explain what enrichment is in far more detail than I did in this talk, because most people have at least some basic idea. Now, the new word is contra-freeloading. Raise your hands if you've heard of this term. Probably you haven't. And I think it's a fascinating thing. When this occurs, when animals would rather work for food than have food if it's freely available. It's only been studied in a handful of animals, as far as I know, which include lab animals, some captive animals at zoos, including grizzly bears. Dr. Vint Verga gave me this video of these meerkats. Now watch as these meerkats want to go inside. So you'd think a better food is inside. The same exact thing in that aluminum tin is inside these boxes. So why are they so interested in going inside? And inside the box, apparently there's portals for them to go through. So they actually have to work to get to the food. Never mind, work to get inside these boxes in the first place. Curiosity? I don't know. I don't know, but it seems this is clearly an example of what I mean by contra-freeloading. And I think it's fascinating because it's counterintuitive to everything that, in fact, I learned in biology. It's important to activate your cat's prey drive. I don't care who you are. If you are a cat, you have a prey drive. You are born with that prey drive, the need to search pounce, and let me do that again. The need to search, hunt, and pounce on your food. And all cats have that, including even Persians. Yes, Persians. And this is a Devon Rex, our cat Roxy, when she was much younger than she happens to be now. But no matter where she is in the house, we feed her not out of bowls, but out of treat dispensing toys, of which there are many now on the market. This is called the hunting feeder. There's a video describing, I'm only going to play part of the video, I think, due to time. It's very dramatic. Isn't that dramatic? And there's all kinds of these feeders now. They're everywhere. So when I first began talking about enrichment in cats, there were a handful of products out. Now there are many of them, I'm so happy to say. So depending on your cat or that individual cat and what that cat likes, or what that cat does best at, or what you think your cat would do best at, and what your pocketbook can afford, not that they're all that expensive, they're not, but I love it. I think they're great. Or you could do this. So we just put some treats inside this 6-pack for 2 reasons. So I could show you the video, and I didn't know it was going to happen, but Roxy says, and Roxy was not a young cat at the time. Maybe she was 12 or 13 here. I know how to do this. I want that food, and she got it. The second reason is now I can write beer off my taxes because I'm presenting, right? Isn't that legal? So here are some toys, and it's not only about toys or how many toys. You know, some cat owners are so wonderful. They buy 7,000 toys for their cats. Not how many you have. It's the idea of rotating those toys so they all become new again. Understanding the kinds of toys your cat likes. It could be the top of a plastic milk carton. It could be a walnut in the bathtub. It doesn't have to be anything that you spend money on. We're getting empty boxes every day now, right? From Amazon or wherever it might be. That is something for your cat. I don't care what's inside the box. It's the box that matters. Bottle caps, corks. I mean, there are all sorts of things, and we can go old school. Catnip, silver vine. Most cats respond positively to those things. We can take our cats out into the world, harness train our cats. Cats, in my view, and according to the American Heartworm Society, should always be protected against heartworm, also fleas and ticks, according to the Companion Animal Parasite Council. This is even more of a reason, though, to make sure folks are protecting if their cats are outside. But what great thing to have your cat be outside. And people are now doing this in what are called catios.
Okay, so the cats come out of the house through the little trap door here, little plastic flat door. They go underneath this bench, and they drop through a hatch right here. And there's a tunnel that goes between the rafters underneath the flooring here. And it comes right out and into this overhead bridge that takes them all the way out into the Catland, which is 12 feet tall and 10 feet wide. And from there on, it's just pure Disneyland for them.
And more people are doing maybe not this extravagant, but this kind of thing for cats. And as long as it's safe and predators can't get in, the cats can't get out, it's generally a wonderful thing. The trick is in the introduction, as you know, most people don't have a cat, they have 2.1 cats. Cats are social species. So those old books that say they're independent, want to live alone. Well, the trick is introducing that new cat. I could do a whole talk on that, how to do that correctly. Here's how not to do it, by the way. Don't do that. So cats and dogs, what about them? Can they live together? Of course, cats and dogs do live together. In fact, now about a quarter of the people that have a cat have a dog and vice versa. Again, it greatly is in the introduction. And in fact, I argue sometimes it's easier to introduce a dog to a cat than a cat to a cat. It could be a non-traditional playmate. I don't necessarily recommend you getting a rat for your cat or a bearded dragon lizard for your cat. our cat on the left, the bottom left, actually lives with a northern blue-tongued skink. This is when she paid attention to the skink. Nowadays, at the age of 17, the skink's about 28. Neither one cares about the other. I think the skink somehow knows she's safe, so I don't think that that's an issue. And more than interesting, so the skink quickly became boring to our cat. What was really interesting was just the light and the warmth of the light, so she would lay up there. Interesting isn't the right word. Comfortable might be a better word. At the top left, I had a parrot for some TV segment I was doing back in the day, and made sure they were kept separate, but it was enriching for the parrot to be in the house. This is my mom and dad actually taking our cat for a walk. They look like proud grandparents, don't they? Karen Pryor, the clicker training legend above right, helped me to clicker train a cat years ago and just said these amazing things about me on Instagram, which I'm blown away by. She just celebrated her 80th birthday. You could take your cat to a birthday party at your vet clinic, which is what we see here. This is our cat at a radio studio. Cats can get out and about, especially if they're socialized at a young age. It depends on the temperament of the cat for sure, but a lot of cats can do that, and they certainly can be taught to do things.
46, Aubrey 88, long-haired championship cats 30, long-haired.
So you haven't lived until you've seen agility for cats or this, but really, in truth, I don't know that I recommend that, at least for sure, not without adult supervision. Now, I've left out one of the most important things. Cats live by their nose. And what I tell people when I talk about enrichment for dogs is I say, steal something. Shh, I do say that. Go to a friend's house who has dog toys and bring back a dog toy. Well, if you do that with a cat, go to a friend's house, bring back some bedding that smells like your friend's cat, your cat will probably pee on it, and be offended by that whole notion. So you don't want to do these changes. You have to think them through, tell your clients to think them through, give your clients specific advice about what to do. So there are certain things that offend many cats. There are certain things that probably will work, but may work for some cats and may not for other cats. And then there are things that generally do work. Those things that generally do work are like spraying something benign, like lavender scent on a clean rag and putting that in the corner. Simple, simple. Just the surprise of finding that can be enriching to a cat. Even if the cat spends 20 seconds twice a day sniffing at it, it's 20 seconds that cat is doing something as opposed to doing absolutely nothing. For cats, the engagement can be far more subtle than it is for dogs. Catnip can be a great tool for cats that like that, like Silvervine. Make sure whatever it is safe. And, what I tell people to do is like spray some cologne on a toilet tube roll, as long as the cat's not going to chew the roll. Now, again, some cats could actually be offended by that, but for the most part, that's interesting to cats. But doing something like going to the zoo and somehow getting a hold of something the jaguar at the zoo laid on, I don't know how you could do that, and then bring it home to your cat, not a good idea. I say that because I actually once worked at the zoo, and I would never do that. And if any of you work at zoos, and for those who are veterinary professionals, your cat now may be accustomed to you coming home smelling the way you do, but for a new cat, that would perhaps be offensive as well. A lot more about everything I'm talking about right here. It's absolutely free from the American Association of Feline Practitioners. I think I'm doing perfect on time here. That's me. Hope you find me on Facebook. And I hope you sign up for my blog, free newsletter as well. Decoding Your Cat, even more an exciting announcement than my haircut. A couple of years ago, I had the honor of co-editing and writing the foreword for Decoding Your Dog, authored not by me, but by members of the American College of Veterinary Behaviorists. Decoding Your Cat is available right now for pre-sale, right now. Go to Amazon, get your copy, written by members of the American College of Veterinary Behaviorists. Again, I was honored to write the foreword in that book, and I think I am done right on time here.